All right, why don't we go ahead and get started? So again, thank you so much for joining us for today's webinar. We are going to be going over a session on mastering prospecting, the ultimate guide to modern CRE business development. The content today is based off of a white paper that we recently produced here at Reonomy. And Megan and I today, my colleague Megan, we are going to go over some in-depth information from the white paper, dig a little deeper, provide some examples of really what we're hearing from the CRE industry, and hoping that everyone finds the content very useful in their day-to-day. The aspect that I'm most excited about here is prospecting really is a topic that spans the client base that we work with here at Reonomy. So we talk with teams and different organizations all day and really understand the unique challenges that they experience and help partner with them to come up with the solutions to fuel their business development efforts. Just a little bit about me. So my name is Morgan Slade. I head up product marketing and brand here at Reonomy. I've worked in the software as service marketing space for about 7 years now and started in the marketing space in the art world actually before that. And really what energizes me about this role is just the scope of the CRE industry and the variety of types of individuals and organizations that we have the opportunity to interact with and solve problems for on a regular basis. And with that, I'll hand it over to my colleague Megan for a brief introduction.
Thanks, Morgan. Hey, everyone. I'm Megan Gorman, and my background is actually in sales. So I truly understand the responsibility of building your own pipeline as well as business development. I have transitioned over to the client side, so I'm a client partner here at Reonomy, and I do really enjoy the opportunity to talk to our users and really empower them to feel confident in their prospecting strategies and growing their business. So it's a lot of fun, excited for today. To go over just a couple quick housekeeping tips before we fully get started. This recording will be sent to you after the webinar, so if you would like to watch it every single day, please do. Feel free to host a viewing party for you and your team. In all seriousness, send it to anyone within your network that you feel might find it useful. We'll always have to hear that. There's also a control panel on the right-hand side of your screen where you can download resources. It's called Handouts. I encourage you to download these slides as well as that white paper that Morgan referenced. On top of that, you are muted. And if you are unable to ask a question, we will be following up with you after. So to jump right in and get started, what are sustainable relationships in commercial real estate today?
Right, thanks, Megan. So this is really the focal point of our conversation today. And we find that this topic, while it is very important in today's climate, where a lot of the clients that we're speaking with are taking a closer look at their prospecting strategies, reinvigorating how they prospect, questioning their business practices. This is really an evergreen topic. So building a sustainable relationship is really around creating relationships for the long term, not just focusing on those short-term shiny objects and those kind of quick deals that may come to you. It's really about building relationships when you do have downtime. I know a lot of CRE professionals do not, but when you do kind of have these seemingly slower times or times when you have available to actually sit down and think through your strategies, it's really important to think through what your book of business is going to look like 2, 3, 5, 10 years down the road. And to focus on crafting those relationships and nurturing them in the background, throughout your day. So that's really the crux of what we're going to be talking about today. And the other kind of part about that is that data plays a central role in building sustainable relationships in all industries. But what we're going to be talking about today is how it applies to CRE. So previously, access to data was kind of the big issue in really making sense of your pipeline and being able to strategically prospect. Now what we're finding is the access to data is really not the issue for clients that we're talking to. So the data is out there, and it's really about making sense of that data and being able to use it to your organization's advantage as a manager, as someone running a team, being able to take that information and make it your team's advantage. So that's really what we're going to be talking about today. And what we'll cover really breaks down into 3 separate points. So the first chapter is around silencing the noise. So there's a lot of clutter out there, as I mentioned. There's a lot of data in the CRE space, a lot of confusing, disparate, disorganized data out there. So how do you kind of silence all of that noise out there and find the information that's going to be most applicable to your market? And most specific to the criteria that matters to your business and to your team's business. The second part is around connecting the dots. So one other challenge, so you've silenced the noise, you've kind of cut down the information that you need. The next part that's difficult is how to contextualize that information within the market, and how to kind of connect the information in a way that kind of that is true to the built world, that's true to how information actually fits together. So that's another area that Megan and I will be walking through. And then the key part, and something that we talk to our customers about all the time, is around scaling your outreach engine. So that's, once you've pared down the information, you've made sense of it and understood how it all fits together, how do you use that information to really fuel outreach and continue to, foster relationships, make sure that you are the first person to the table with an opportunity, that you are continuing to nurture those relationships through time, and that, when it comes time for, an owner to sell, an owner to, need work done from a field service provider perspective, that they really turn to you instead of your competitors. So those are the 3 areas that we are going to cover in today's session. And I'll hand it over to Megan, who will jump into some questions that we feel particularly strong about.
Definitely. So silencing the noise, huge thing we all need to do. There's so much happening. So a couple of questions we want you to ask yourself and focus on and think about while we're going through this is, are you confident that your team is set up for long-term success? As well as, does it feel like your team is often chasing those single engagement opportunities? So those shiny objects like Morgan is talking about, those low-hanging fruit quick wins, which are of course very important for you and your business. But what about those long-term relationships, that long-term success? What is it that you can do today to start fostering those relationships and building that long-term success for you and your team?
Awesome. So in chatting with Megan and others on our client success team, and with those on the sales side as well, in talking with clients all day, it's become really apparent to us that there are really 3 main questions that our customers are asking, and where they're finding challenges in silencing the noise. So this data is disparate, it's coming from different sources. How do you know which data is verified? How do you understand if you can trust it? The other point here is around, maybe you have data coming in from a bunch of different sources, and there's conflicting information from different sources. So for example, you have contact information that doesn't match contact information within your database. Or another example might be that you have a particular building and it's listed in one case as 123 Main Street, and from another database it's listed as 767 3rd Avenue. And how do you make sense of which address is correct, and whether you have duplicative information, which is another challenge that our customers have. So that's in reference to the third bullet point here. Do we already have this information? Are you populating data around a specific opportunity in a duplicative way? And is that kind of adding to the noise that you're sifting through in your prospecting strategy? So Megan, it would be great actually on this slide if you could just walk us through what it might look like to isolate your target audience and silence the noise. So we've brought in a few examples from Reonomy of how this might happen. And Megan, as a member of our client success team, plays a huge role in walking through walking our customers and their teams through this on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah, definitely. So, I mean, you can see right off the bat at Reonomy, we hold data on over 52 million commercial properties nationally. So we're really covering that entire universe of commercial real estate. We would never expect you to come in here and have the ability to go through all 52 million. So I'll walk you through how to kind of narrow this search down. I'm also coming at you guys with an experience. We are releasing segmented experiences. So I'm going to walk through this as a sales broker. So if when you are doing this at home, you see maybe a couple different top tier filters to use, it's because we know those ones are going to be the most important and useful for you. So I decided to do this as a search in Los Angeles, California. So you can see that in that search, there's still over 200,000 commercial assets. So to narrow that one down even further, on the next slide here, I chose multifamily. So that, we're sitting at over just 110,000 properties of multifamily in Los Angeles.
And Megan, just a quick question before you move on to the next slide. So I see that you just filtered by multifamily, and that is one aspect that our customers do find difficult, is really being able to correctly classify and to make sure that the asset types that they're searching by are consistent across the board. So would you just walk through a few of the different categories that we provide on the asset type side of things, just so those on the webinar can get a taste of what we were able to offer there?
Yeah, absolutely. So we actually have over 100 different search filters. So definitely multiple ways that you can go in there and filter down the search to exactly what you're looking for. First and foremost, that property type. Yes, I'm searching multifamily, so maybe that's what you and your team do. Maybe the team that you used to sit next to at the office, they focus on industrial. They would be able to search by that on Reonomy as well. We have office space, retail, mixed use. So really being able to get in there and figure out what's the most important for you and search by that.
That's awesome. Thanks for sharing.
For sure, definitely. So then on the next slide, I did want to get this number down even a little bit more. So I want to look for properties to break down that number from over 45,000. I added having a maturity date coming up in the next year on a loan, as well as I wanted to make sure every single search I was looking at had a phone number. So I got that number from over 45,000 down to 189. So this is where you can really start to look at those properties that mean the most to you and your team. Reach out to these 189 owners, but also going back to looking at over 45,000, casting a wider net, really getting into these filters and figuring out, how you want to start reaching out to these owners, make different lists of different numbers, make sure you're just coming at them from all angles and looking at every property that you guys can.
Absolutely, and I think that was great, Megan. I think just one thing to add there is that the view that we've just walked through for some of you on the line may be to generate a prospect list of kind of upcoming opportunities. So maturity date in the next year, maybe an indicator of like a really hot prospect for you and for your team. the thing to remember here is that you can leverage that same maturity date filter and maybe look at properties where the maturity date isn't set to come up until, you know, the next 2 or 5 years, and you can start building out a strategy for getting in touch with those owners, you know, before your competitors may even have them on your radar. So that's just one example. There are several different permutations of different filters that you could apply to build a prospect list for now, for the next 2 years, 5 down the road. So really, really powerful stuff here in terms of silencing the noise.
Absolutely. It's just really all about getting your name and your team's name and your organization's name in front of those owners.
Absolutely. All right, so moving on. So one other question that we also like to ask is around whether or not our customers have the tools to access reliable and vetted data. And so just moving on to the next slide. So we're going to go into the next section which is around connecting the dots. And by the dots, we mean how do you connect all of these points of information and make them make sense for your business. So one blind spot that many of our customers may face is that they have information around their existing book of business or owners that they have done business with in the past. So say you've done business with Bob Smith here on the right, and you know, say you're a service provider and you've done work on 789 10th Avenue. You are looking to expand your book of business, and you could, you know, run a Reonomy search and look for opportunities that are new to you and that you know, haven't engaged with in the past. But you could also look at maximizing your existing relationships and trying to identify the possibility of a warm referral rather than kind of starting afresh with a relationship. So right now, you have a relationship with Bob Smith, and Bob Smith is connected to John Doe. They are both connected through Company One, and they engage in business together. So you also figure out in a separate silo that 123 Main Street is another opportunity. But without information to kind of connect those two individuals, John Doe and Bob Smith, you may not know that you can go through existing connections to get to that connection and to try and win the business for 123 Main Street. So if we go to the next slide, so this is a really exciting enhancement that we are making to Reonomy in the next couple of weeks, and that's going to be further enhanced going into early next year and beyond, and a huge initiative that we're working through. And it's around ownership and being able to connect properties to one another through individuals. And also, you know, within Bob Smith's portfolio, being able to understand the scope of the properties that are associated with him. And then through that, you could start to understand that John Doe is connected. And then what that looks like when played out in the real world is that, you know, as a field service provider, as you are prospecting, say you're a roofer and you really want to do business with 123 Main Street, you could actually go to Bob Smith, say, hey, I did some work with you in years past. I understand that you have a connection to John Doe. I'd love to get in front of him and see if I can maybe do some work on 123 Main Street. And there you have a really great, warmer connection. You're not starting afresh, you're starting through a known connection. And that's some really powerful information. The other valuable point about this construct of being able to connect the dots within the CRE space and being able to see this whole dimensional view of ownership and portfolios is that it can help to validate which opportunities you choose to go after. So if you are asking for a referral and you're pitting two opportunities against each other and trying to understand where you should apply your time, if you know that John Doe has an extensive portfolio of, a bunch of buildings, you may choose to spend a lot of your time in nurturing that relationship rather than going after a smaller portfolio that's not going to yield as much business over time. So that's a really big point when we talk about sustainable prospecting, is choosing opportunities and using data to inform how you prioritize your time in the long run.
Definitely. I mean, coming at you like someone who used to make minimum 80 cold calls a day, anytime you can get a warm referral, it absolutely makes your day better.
Absolutely. Yeah, you know that from firsthand. Absolutely.
Yeah, so then to move on here, to wrap up the agenda and enter the final section here of scaling your outreach engine, as important and great and wonderful as those warm referrals are, you do still need to focus on that cold outreach and build those relationships any way that you can. So from that list that I went through of 189 results, I just wanted to click into a property here to really show you the value of being able to pierce through this LLC as the reported owner and seeing that Amir here is who you want to contact. So we have a couple of different mailing addresses, phone numbers, and email addresses. Don't want poor Amir here to get hit up so many times right after this. But now you have the tools you need to reach out to him. And then also on the right-hand side here, looking at our map feature, this map is interactive. So if you really like Gilmore Street or you really like anything around that area, you can go and just start canvassing right from your computer, clicking on those other commercial properties, finding out the information, and continue your outreach that way.
Absolutely. I think that contextual information is just so important. So, the way we think about it is, there's great value in, say, being able to walk the block and being able to, boots on the ground, understand the context of the neighborhood that, is of interest. This really takes a lot of that in-person interaction out of the process. For times when you just can't get there in person or you are working through discovery, and it can be quite time consuming. So we find that customers really value that ability to contextualize in a way that you maybe can't in other platforms. So one last area to really drive home around scaling your outreach engine is something that I as a marketer encounter on a regular basis. So really being able to take a multi-channel approach is a huge strategy within the marketing arena and applicable across the board. So Megan mentioned that we have really in-depth information on ownership and contact information. The great part here is that we have contact information across email, mailing address, phone number, and it really makes it easy to kind of grab everything from one location, knowing that it's been verified. And to be able to conduct outreach through multiple channels. So as many of us know, maybe you have a preferred method of engagement. Maybe you despise sifting through emails and you tend to send a lot of things to trash. Maybe you enjoy getting direct mail and there's something nice about a tactical piece of mail. Or maybe you just like a quick phone call because it's just easier and you don't have to take the time to read through something. So this just gives a lot of opportunity and variety in how you may approach a prospect of interest. And it also helps with what we've talked about on the sustainable prospecting front, the idea that not every touch has to be, very direct. Not everything has to be, a super customized approach. There's a brand awareness side of things, getting your organization's name in front of a prospect paired with tailored outreach. And that's really what we mean by a multi-channel approach. So moving on.
No, I was just gonna say, you really want to hit someone at every single angle, and maybe they're not ready to go, but again, it's seeing you, your name, your company's name, and they're going to remember you.
Absolutely. And just even further to that, with the depth of information available in Reonomy, being able to pull detailed information that shows that you've done your homework, shows that you really care and you are approaching on a one-to-one basis, paired with those kind of larger scale, brand awareness pushes, can be really impactful in the long run. So this slide is one that I'm very excited about, and it's related to adding even more layers of connection. So we just went over the different areas that you can, of contact information that you can leverage to get in touch with individuals. We've recently launched a new feature within Reonomy around Reonomy mailers. And what that allows you to do is to create or upload mail according to your brand guidelines. You can choose whether you want to use what we call quick letter, which is a really easy way to effectively send tailored mail directly to a prospect. And we handle everything. We handle the printing and the shipping. You never have to step foot into the post office, and then USPS takes care of everything and gets it to your prospect's door quickly and efficiently. This is, particularly important during these times when maybe going out and going to a post office may not be as attractive, but it's also just a time-saving mechanism and a way to, look through your prospect list, understand who you may want to get in front of, and then send really tailored one-to-one communications to those prospects that incorporate information from the Reonomy platform and anything that you'd like to include that kind of sets you apart. Really excited also to mention that right now we are offering 15 free credits with a Reonomy subscription, excuse me, with a Reonomy subscription, you're able to send 15 free mailers a month, and with the ability to scale that up if it matters to you. Want to also just mention that this is very different from bulk mail, which we understand some of our customers are currently leveraging. So bulk mail is really about that brand awareness and kind of that spray and pray type of a technique. This is quite different. This is more one-to-one. It's really sitting down and understanding the prospect and being able to reach out to them in a way that's very customized. Megan, have you heard any good feedback on this feature and speaking with clients recently?
Yeah, absolutely. Our users are loving this feature, loving being able to send that direct mail. I mean, we are literally sitting on our computers right now in a webinar. Digital marketing, digital outreach is so hot and easy and exactly what everyone does. So this is one way to really set yourself apart. Also being able to upload anything you've done previously. So with your company name already on it and just editing a couple different things makes it a lot easier. So yeah, no, users are loving it. It's great. I'm very excited that we finally have it.
Awesome. Really great to hear. And I think that brings us to one of our last slides before we head into Q&A. So Megan just walked us through the process of adding layers of connection and a lot about the contact information and the richness of that contact information within Reonomy. Megan knows a bit more about this particular client and has shared some really great feedback on Reonomy. So would you mind just walking through a little bit more on Hines Contracting?
Of course. So Brian Hines here is the owner of Hines Contracting. He is a storm chaser, and he and his team started using Reonomy earlier this year. And I really do hear variety of quotes like this, that before using Reonomy, there's a couple different missteps that were taken, and they all often did lead to dead ends. But now with Reonomy, it's made so much easier to reach out directly to that decision maker with that up-to-date information and being able to hit them from that couple different angles, like we've been saying, hitting them with phone numbers, direct mail, and email to get your name in front of them.
Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing that. And this is definitely not unique to this particular client. It's fortunately something that we hear day in and day out, which is really awesome to hear. So now we are on to our Q&A section. So we've talked through, silencing the noise and combing through a large scale of information, being able to connect those dots and being able to really derive key insights that drive a sustainable pipeline for your business. And then the last part around scaling your outreach strategy. So how do you put all of that information into play and think about it in a kind of a long term holistic strategy. So really hope you enjoyed that part of the presentation. It was really fun walking everyone through those 3 sections that we've talked through. So now why don't we take a look and see what questions came in through our chat. I've seen a few come in as we've been running through this. So let's just see. I'm gonna pick one just off the bat and see if one stood out to me. Let's see. So there was one question. Let's start with this one. Is there a way to customize your experience? Yes, in fact, there is. So I can I'll take the first part of this and then I'll hand it over to you, Megan, if there's anything you want to add. So as Megan mentioned, we are right on the cusp of introducing segment-specific versions of our product. So today and previously, we've had a kind of, one-size-fits-all platform that has a huge variety of ability to narrow down a prospect list, to conduct research, and to conduct outreach. And what we've realized is that there's tremendous opportunity in surfacing functionality specific to all of your workflows, and to make sure that you feel supported and and as though we've built a platform for you and your team. So we are going to be launching in the next few weeks a few different experiences, namely for sales brokers, for investors, for field service providers, and also for the debt community. So really excited about this new development, and Megan will be on the forefront of introducing that to our existing customer base and making sure that everyone transitions well to that experience. Megan, anything else to add there?
Yeah, I would say on top of that, with having those segment-specific experiences, is utilizing a couple of the tools that we have available to you. So using the label feature we have and notes features we have to really keep yourself organized within Reonomy amongst your team. That's really great. And then just making sure you're not duplicating any of your work when you can, which you can now do in terms of, even with labels, you can make sure to exclude a couple of them when you want to look at a specific list, as well as excluding previously exported properties. So it's really just anything, getting into Reonomy and staying organized and using those tools.
That was great. Awesome. Thank you for sharing that. I think you really covered it all.
Thanks.
It's like you do this all the time.
Glad it feels like that. Looking at a couple of these other questions, one that a few of you are asking, is there a plan to introduce bulk mailers eventually?
Got it. Okay, I can take that one, and feel free to add anything, Megan, if I miss anything. So we actually get this question a lot. At the moment, we're really focusing on this one-to-one mailer functionality. We feel that it's of extreme importance and is really going to move the needle for a lot of our customers looking for that customized outreach. That said, we've heard a lot of requests from customers who are sending bulk mail currently who would like to leverage this functionality. And we really do take into account a lot of customer feedback and want to make sure that our platform is best fit for your workflows and means that you can you don't have to diversify a bunch of different platforms and activities that you're working through on a daily basis. So it is on our radar. It's something that we're currently in research and development on. I don't have exact timing for it at the moment, but you can feel free to reach out to us following the webinar. We'll be providing some ways to get in touch with us, and we'll be more than happy to keep in touch when this becomes more of a reality on our product roadmap.
You definitely covered it all.
Good, I'm glad. Awesome. Cool. I think we just have time for it looks like one more question. And again, as Megan mentioned earlier, if we haven't had a chance to answer your questions on the line, we will follow up following the webinar to make sure that you're taken care of. The last one that I'll ask, or that was asked that we'll answer, is what's something that we're not showing that means a lot to users? So, I'm imagining that's, we walked through a few examples on the discovery side, on the outreach side, on the research side. So it looks like a user is curious, is there anything within Reonomy, any bells and whistles that we're really not exposing here? So yeah, Megan, I'll let you take that one.
Yeah, definitely. I get this question on literally almost every single phone call I have. So I'm really happy someone asked it. It is, really first and foremost, just really jumping into Reonomy. That's really what's so great about our product, is that it's so intuitive. So you can jump right in, get your feet wet, know your company's sweet spot and what you're searching for, and perform those types of searches in Reonomy. I mean, we are always here to offer guidance and make recommendations based on what we're seeing as best practices in the market, but you know your business the best. So being able to get your feet wet, focusing on that geography you guys focus on, is how you're going to be able to really find success.
Absolutely. I think that was really, really well said, Megan. And I will definitely vouch for our customer team, and they are extremely helpful as partners for our customers and answering questions that they may have, and really being able to support them through different challenges that they're encountering, and really find some solutions that work for them. So very complimentary of our CS team here at Reonomy.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course. So that just about does it for our Q&A. Just one more slide to review today. So just wanted to talk through a few next steps. So the first one is around sharing this webinar with your colleagues. You can feel free to send the recording, which will be sent through following this webinar. We want to make sure that, if there are any team members who may benefit from this information, that they have access. The second part is around downloading our white paper. So as we mentioned earlier, this whole session was built around a white paper that our team produced that, provides the framework for creating sustainable business development practices. And we hope that you'll download it and find it useful as a guide as you're working through your team strategy. And then one last point is that if you have any additional questions, you can reach out to support@reonomy.com, and we will actually proactively reach out to you if we didn't get a chance to answer your questions on today's session. So no need to fill out that question again. We will make sure to get in touch with you. So on behalf of Reonomy, want to thank everyone so much for joining today. Really appreciate you and your team taking the time to listen through this session. Again, I'm Morgan Slade, and I'm joined here by Megan Gorman, and hope